about to begin, folks. There we go. Just getting some invites to the watch party on Facebook here. All right. Let's get some folks tuning in. Well, welcome to the Ruff Report. I am Jimmy Ruffian, reporting live from downtown Toronto. I am glad you could make it. We're going to be basically doing a part 2 of last night because there's a lot to talk about in the context of both COVID-19, Doug Ford, and then, of course, the American debate. So, yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. If you want to leave your live questions and comments, tune into the original thread on Facebook if you are watching on Facebook, as posted by the Rough Go page. Or watch on YouTube. If you search the Rough Go on YouTube, there you should find this channel. All right, let's get started. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, those of you that are. So, top of the line, let's talk about COVID-19 in Ontario. As Andrea Horvath has tweeted today, let's pull that up. Ooh. Forgot I'm supposed to move over here for that. Yeah, in Ontario, 82,473 people are waiting for their test results. They can't go to work. They're at home with kids who can't go to school. Didn't need to be this way. We should have been investing in public health care rather than Ford's cuts. We need public health investment now. And I fully agree with this, of course. My only fear is, like, why haven't we been hearing this from Andrea Horvath a lot more aggressively for a lot longer? My concern about Andrea Horvath is that she's just altogether too nice and doesn't have the political teeth to go after Doug Ford the way he needs to be gone after. Sorry, just checking on a couple things there. I'm monitoring the watch party. It's like the mirror effect. Look at that. That's kind of neat. Sorry, when you're trying to monitor everything yourself. Oops, that's not what I wanted. That's the music. Yeah, where was my tweet? There it is. Um, yeah, you get a little tripped up sometimes. Thanks for putting up with me there. So yeah, uh, yeah, the fact that there's 82,000 cases waiting is, disgraceful. The fact that we had, I think, just today about 500 or so cases, new cases reported. Ahoy, Lacey! Thank you for joining us. Uh, like there's over 500 cases reported today, and then 82,000 cases waiting. How many of those are going to be positive? There's like this backlog of this now. Who knows what the numbers are going to be? They're spiking in a way that we were kind of seeing the U.S. go in a bad way come this second wave. It's not looking good, and the fact that there doesn't seem to be anything done in regards to schools. And speaking of schools, yeah, I was reading a tweet earlier. Shoot, I didn't have it pulled up now. But basically, teachers on Twitter describing how the relationship with this provincial government is in the toilet and it's only getting worse. And he's using the guise of this pandemic to, um, you know, further make their jobs more difficult and make further problems for public education in the interest of further privatizing it. And it's like, I fully am behind the idea that there are inherent problems with public education in a number of ways. But almost all of it has a way of coming back to conservative government interference. Almost anything we're lacking in way of public education comes down to their cuts and their interference in what the curriculum is and what teachers can do with their jobs, and the restrictions and class sizes and all these various things. This has come as a result of a conservative action. And they've hobbled it so much over the years that now they can finally, they feel emboldened to execute their wet dreams of finally taking an axe to a lot of public education instead of improving it in ways that we all know that it can be improved. It's it's sort of bonkers. Oop. Thank you to the few people who are tuning in there. Again, if you want to leave your comments, try and join the YouTube channel or the Rough Go Facebook page, the original stream there. I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, this second wave of COVID-19 is so far not going very well. And the government, the provincial government and Doug Ford and his administration doesn't seem as concerned as the first time around. And that is a bit alarming. As we discussed last night, it's they're talking about making more targeted efforts rather than broad strokes to try and put up restrictions instead of a full lockdown, right? But they have no idea what that means. They have no articulation for that, right? It's ridiculous. So yeah, uh, teachers' lives are getting harder. People are waiting for their tests. The economic impact is going to happen regardless of not like if the government takes action or not. If people get sick and they start, not physically being able to go to work, or they start, or workplaces start getting shut down because people that they work close to have gotten sick. It's the fact that there has been no plan for this developed at all over the years is just it's bonkers. And again, as like to repeat myself a bit from last night again, this is exactly what the World Health Organization was trying to tell us for decades, that we were open to this, that most countries were open to being badly hurt in the event of a pandemic, and that a lot of us were not taking any restrictions to mitigate that, or taking any measures to mitigate that. This is a failure of our leadership, and I know it sounds pretty biased coming from me, but it's a lot of this, historically speaking, in the policies that are in place and how it's affecting us now. It comes down to the Tories a hell of a lot more than the Liberals. Again, as usual, the Liberal status quo is that they just fail to do enough of the nice, fluffy ideas that they seem to want to do. And then again, that's what I fear in Andrea Horvath here. She's making the bold statement here and now, but it's like, where has this action been? I feel like our Ontario NDP has been kind of lacking in making bold moves and bold statements against our current provincial government. And I'm a big NDP supporter. I want to see them do more. And that's why I'm criticizing them in this way. It's kind of just, again, I just fear Andrea Horvath doesn't have the teeth sometimes, and we need somebody with that right now. So let's see here. Yeah, and speaking of, kind of sidestep into American stuff a little bit, but in COVID news, so it's sort of related. Look at this. What the fuck? LA Comic Con is going ahead. Bonkers. This was posted just on Monday, but that poster says, see you next year, September 25th, 2017, 2020. Obviously, I guess it got postponed. In December 2020, the organizers of the LA Comic Con want to open the doors to the Los Angeles Convention Center and allow thousands of people in for a nerd show. That's in less than 3 months. What the hell? Okay, yeah, so it's in less than 3 months. They postponed it a little bit. I can't see in 3 months this being possible. Why would and it just seems like a bad idea to have a comic book convention in December. I don't know. Are they going to be able to sell as much stuff with how much the economy's been hurting and the holidays around the corner? Seems just strategically bad on multiple levels, business-wise and COVID-wise. But yeah, Jesus Christ. Just like another sort of insane example of how leadership in the oligarchy and capitalist class is in having us try and continue things as normal despite the threat and the danger. They don't care. And it's rather disheartening and really depressing to try and think about and put it in that nutshell. But that is the reality. They show us rather consistently that they don't care. And we got to start thinking a little bit seriously about how they don't care. And I'm going to be getting into that a little bit more, tying that whole web together as I tend to do as I yammer on. But yeah, let's get to back to some Canadian stuff here for a second. Aaron O'Toole presses Trudeau on reconciliation in first question period as Conservative leader. Good for you, buddy. Because as we all know, the Conservatives are so well known for being overly concerned about our Indigenous population. The Liberals don't seem to take a lot of action, of course, but at least they have enough sense to pay the lip service, as hollow and depressing as that can be in its own right. So I guess this is this guy's attempt at that lip service, I suppose. But it's just real rich considering the source. You know, again, a lot of problems regarding our indigenous. Um, Again, a term I should not use, nor should anybody use. Our indigenous sounds a little in, what is it? Infantizing or belittling in one way or another. So it's a term I shouldn't use, or nor should anyone. But the indigenous of this country, um, you know, a lot of the policies that have negatively affected them, or our failure to continue positive policy and reconciliation, and the red tape that has gotten in the way of reconciliation, is strongly conservative driven. So coming from this guy, it's real freaking rich. You know, most of my analysis in these things comes from like a historical point of view, historical context, looking at the patterns of the past, if you will. And, you know, taking that in mind, it's just seeing this come from the conservatives, it's just hot air. You know, the new Tory leader accused Trudeau of being all talk and no action. How do you, like, again, taking history in mind, just ballpark an idea, a projection in your head of what it would look like if Aaron O'Toole was our next prime minister, and what his policy on Indigenous affairs would look like, and what his actions regarding that would look like. I don't know. There was a bit of news that came out of Quebec recently. I don't know if you heard about this. Here, I got to get it queued up. All right. Yeah, let's get this up. Rather than displaying the heart-wrenching, depressing video regarding this, I'm going to, because maybe enough of us has seen it, but recently there was an outcry because recently there was an Indigenous woman in a Quebec hospital that was quite literally dying on her bed. And the hospital staff taunted her and, you know, made racial slurs at her as she basically laid there and died. And she filmed it. She had it on her cell phone, I believe, streaming live. So yeah, shocking video showing hospital staff in Canada taunting dying Indigenous woman has left a community in mourning and renewed calls for the country to confront the realities of its systemic racism. Joyce Echaquan, and I really hope I pronounced that properly. 37-year-old woman arrived at a hospital in the Quebec city of Joliet on Monday, complaining of stomach pain. The mother of 7 had previously suffered similar issues and told staff she had a heart condition. And she started live streaming her experience on Facebook as her pain escalated, and staff at the hospital appeared indifferent to her pleas for help. Yeah, the nurses call her stupid as hell and ask her if she's done being stupid. You made some bad choices. What are your children going to think seeing you like this? She's good at having sex more than anything else, the first nurse said. and it's all on video. It's absolutely horrifying. And these sort of colonial, racialized ideas are, again, much more driven. Nope, there's Nat. I think she's about to depart. She's going to a little social engagement tonight.
I wasn't sure if you remember that I own a cape.
Well, yes, I see you own a cape. Yeah.
And I'm wearing it out tonight.
All right. I love you, baby. Yeah. Sorry. These problems come more from a right-wing mindset. Again, at least the liberals might only pay lip service, but at least they do that. At least they apply some sense of social pressure to move this thing forward, as fluffy and ultimately ineffectual as it may be. But in your more conservative places, especially socially speaking, socially conservative places like Quebec, you see this happen all the time. Just a few years ago, seems like not that long ago at all, where you had the Indigenous Quebec hockey team that was undergoing slurs as they played in a tournament in Quebec. Just all these examples of these things, right? We have a serious problem with this in this country regarding Indigenous people and non-white people in general. And to pretend that we're better than the Americans in this is just, it's a false narrative. I have a cat who is trying to climb on the desk. Are you going to come see me? All right. Yeah, it's, I don't know. I don't have any faith in the Conservative Party whatsoever to be able to continue this dialogue in any productive manner other than to just be a gotcha to liberals. If a conservative ever makes some serious ground on this issue before a liberal does, I'll be quite shocked. And I know that sounds speculative and assumptive to some, but again, look at the history of this ideology and the actions that they tend to take. There's a pattern to this behavior. You can come to expect certain things. And that's where a lot of people's political cynicism lies because, yeah, they've come to expect certain things, and they're not wrong to do it in many respects. Okay. Yeah, to kind of segue into the next thing. Apparently, in the UK, in I guess in UK education, they're trying to ban or have banned anti-capitalist material in UK schools. I imagine that, you know, a very free speech concerned political right of the of England is going to be massively concerned about this, right? I'm sure they're just bursting at the seams to want to right this wrong in their genuine concern for free speech. Okay, so yeah, student react to banning of anti-capitalist material in UK schools. This is from Vice News. The headline quote here saying, "I'm not even 18 years old, and I've been through 2 recessions that politicized me and made me an anti-capitalist. Not teachers telling me the way I should be thinking." If anything, it's further evidence to students that they shouldn't listen to their teachers. If they have been naturally radicalized by the society that they live in and the experiences that they've had, and then in public school you try and ban the material that helps them to understand and intellectualize those concepts, uh, how do you think they're going to view that? Are they going to go, "Oh, it's great that the school did that"? You know, like, is there supposed to be positive and warm feelings here? That's freaking absurd. Uh, yeah, I'll be interested to see if this actually carries on in any kind of way. Like, if this sort of rule sticks. Sometimes you see things like this pop up, and they have a tendency to be, withdrawn quite quickly after the public outcry or whatever. Sometimes. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. UK is kind of interesting in their right and left dynamic. I think they're not entirely different from the United States in terms of how overall right wing they tend to be, especially when it comes to issues regarding immigration. There's definitely a strong, as much as I dislike using the term, but it's something that people generally tend to understand, redneck outlook on it. Uh, yeah, thank you for tuning in again, folks. Those of you who are watching, I was just kind of checking in on the stream there. All right, before I get into the second part of the show, I'm going to take a quick break because I have to. So please bear with me a moment. We're going to be right back. Let me get the music up again so you have something to hear, right? All right, just a quick break, folks, and I'll be moving on to the next segment. right. I am back. All right, so let's get into this next segment of the program here. So continuing on the point of the U.S. election last night, and basically Donald Trump's declaration of fascist intent and his out-and-out refusal to deny white supremacy and kind of unequivocally shut it down. And not only did he have a failure to do so, he turned it into a call to action for the Proud Boys to stand up to Antifa. And, you know, anytime he's really put on the spot, like, yeah, I'll condemn them, and kind of says, like, in a passive way, right? So here is Jared Yates Sexton. He's written a book on fascism, and he's written a lot about it on his Twitter page. I haven't read his book yet, but his Twitter feed makes me want to read it. So I definitely suggest checking him out. But yeah, here we have a tweet from him. They will not condemn white supremacists because they are white supremacists, and their base is a white supremacist base. This is a fascistic movement focused on maintaining white supremacy at all costs and willing to use violence, intimidation, and anti-democratic measures. Yeah, this is a little bit strange. Again, this is like more kind of sidestepping language from a Donald Trump representative here, Kayleigh McEnany, McEnany. That sounds more right. Kayleigh McEnany dances around a question from Fox News asking her to categorically condemn white supremacists. Very bizarre, and it's almost like it's right out of Donald Trump's playbook here.
I'd like to ask you for a definitive and declarative statement without ambiguity or deflection. As the person who speaks for the president.
Without ambiguity or deflection. As someone who speaks for the president.
Does the president denounce white supremacism and groups that espouse it in all their forms?
This has been answered yesterday by the president himself, the day before by the president himself on the debate stage.
What's wrong with
the president
saying
was
yes,
asked
of
this.
course?
He said sure 3 times. Yesterday,
sure.
He was point blank asked, do you?
He said at the debate, sure, 3 times. Again, this like soft, passive language. This isn't an unequivocal denial. This is just dancing around the question.
Denounce white supremacy, and he said, I've always denounced any form of that. I can go back and read.
I've denounced any form of that. Again, really passive. Like, I've always denounced any form of that. He hasn't really. He definitely didn't last night when he turned it into a statement about somebody's got to do something about Antifa.
Read for you in August 2019, in one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. In August of 2017, racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups. I have an entire list of these quotes that I can go through with you. He has condemned white supremacy more than any president in modern history.
He might have passively condemned it in this soft language more times than any president in history, because he's the only one that's had to have been asked this so many times in so many ways. That in itself should tell you something, and that in itself that they never out and out say it, they just kind of use this deflection.
Just to clear it up this morning, can you
Just to clear it up.
make a declarative
Right now.
statement that you denounce, that the president
Do it
denounces.
right
I
now.
just did. The president has denounced
But
this
you
repeatedly.
Can
The
you-
president was asked this.
can
You're
you just-
you're contriving a
No,
storyline
I'm
and a
just
narrative.
asking you to put
He
this
said,
to rest.
I just did. I read you all of the quotes,
read
and
me
if you
past
need to see
quotes.
them in
Can you
writing,
do it
I will put them in an email. Paula.
So, Kaylee, can you right now denounce white supremacy and the group
I
that is
just
spouted?
did. The president has
read a bunch
denounced
of quotes
white
from the past.
supremacy, the KKK,
do it right
and hate
now.
groups in all forms. He signed a
Why is
resolution to that
it's
effect.
always
The
like
president
this?
just last week, perhaps you all weren't covering it, but just last week expressed his desire to see the KKK prosecuted as domestic terrorists. This president had
I'm pretty sure the KKK is already considered a domestic terrorist group and have been long before Donald Trump was put in charge. So him just sort of repeating what the law is again not really any kind of strong declaration.
advocated for the death penalty for a white supremacist, the first federal execution in 17 years. His record on this is unmistakable, and it's shameful that the media
It's shameful that the media does this. It's shameful that nobody in the Trump administration, including Trump himself, can actually do this properly. And it's not an accident. There's a reason that they just don't do it. And of course, it's because they are fascists and white supremacists. And part of that ideology as well is to never appear weak, right? Projecting strength and confidence is a huge part of this. And like I pointed out last night in the debate, where it seemed like Donald Trump looked like he was a little cornered between the moderator and Biden both saying, hey, do it, denounce this. He sort of had this pause and stare moment, realizing that he was kind of cornered, and then still managed to dodge the question. Part of the strategy here is to never give in to what is requested of you from anyone that can be perceived as not on your team. It's this kind of, it's this out and out sort of fraternity code that they all follow. And that's it. So yeah, again, I highly recommend checking out his Twitter feed. We can go to that actually for a second here. He had a really long, particularly long Twitter thread. I think it was like 30 some odd tweets long. I don't know if I'd be able to find again. But yeah, most of his feed is really pounding on this point that this is a fascist movement that we're witnessing, and it's completely worth paying attention to. So like this tweet here, he's retweeting with comment from Brooke Binkowski. DHS memo told officials to make comments favorable to Kenosha shooting suspect. Yeah. He said, and let's be, Department of, what is that? Department of Human Services, I think. In prepping DHS officials for questions about Rittenhouse, the document suggests that he took a gun to Kenosha to help defend small business owners. That was the narrative that they were commanded to use. Again, let's be very clear about this. The right has rallied around vigilante killings, and now the Trump administration has officially taken a position to support its base into the street in murdering its critics. Fascism. This is fascism. We really can't make it any more clear than that. There's no denying it. I know it's been beaten to death in the past that we have a tendency to make these sort of like Hitler fascistic comparisons to people very willy-nilly or ostensibly willy-nilly. But I mean, my first experience with that was watching those accusations of George Bush Jr. Uh, being fascistic, and really, all in all, they really weren't completely wrong. He was kind of paving the road to Trump in a very big way. The foundations that George Bush helped to lay in the political zeitgeist in law and the acts, the Patriot Act, for instance, that he was able to put through. It was all laying the groundwork. And as much as the liberal side of things or the centrist side of things fails to properly address it, that is their biggest failure. You know, liberalism leads to fascism in the sense that it always fails to properly address it, or it seems to always, when push comes to shove, it will sooner sympathize with it than take a hard stance in favor of working class people in the sense of more socialistic policy, even when it's most needed. Which really makes me hope the liberals truly might do something about the CERB and UBI situation, especially with all this second wave stuff happening. I have my doubts as to how well they're going to do that. It's definitely an uncertain time in so many respects between this sort of fascist movement ostensibly getting rapidly stronger in the United States and the effect that that has on us here in Canada, and then spike in COVID-19. It's definitely a lot to digest, and you know, we're all in this together, and I think we have to remember that. And that kind of brings me to the last segment of the show before I'm going to sign off, and that's our nuts and bolts segment. And that's, you know, reaching out to people in your community and building community in a little bit better and stronger than it was the day before. Especially in these times where you're seeing these right-wing stuff be so prevalent and so strong in so many ways that it kind of comes down to, I think, people being less isolated and learning how to kind of have a sense of togetherness again and tearing down these walls and just being more conscious of those things. Like, a lot of us exist in these sort of online spheres and talk our theory and things like that. And that can be all well and good in a number of ways. But if it doesn't come down to actually reaching out to your community in a positive way and doing something on that level, I'm not sure the overall effect it's going to have. I'm not sure the overall effect that, you know, me talking about this would have without me, you know, actually actively doing something about it, which I absolutely intend to do. And I know intentions sound all well and good, but this is why I'm talking about it, is I want to put pressure on myself as well as everybody else. It's been a while since I've done any sort of community donating or community service. There we go. You know, largely because of COVID, but that can only be an excuse for so long, right? In fact, it becomes the opposite, where because of COVID, we have to be more diligent about this and be more creative and find other ways of being able to support each other that doesn't necessarily involve group gatherings. So I would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions regarding doing that. What can we do to build a stronger community and reach out to people who feel disenfranchised and what we can do to make a positive difference in their lives. It's I think it's an extremely important thing. I know that might sound a little obvious or cliched, perhaps, but for real, like this stuff is going to take effort. And let me tell you, they put a lot of effort into building this right-wing movement into what it is now. This has been a long time coming, and we got to have a way to respond to it as productively and positively as possible. And I'm not saying I have all the answers, but we definitely have some thinking to do. So, thank you once again, everybody, for watching. This is a reminder that, again, on Saturday, I'm going to be appearing on a show that I believe airs out of London, Ontario, called The World's Worst Podcast, where I'm going to be debating a conservative bloke. And we're going to be covering a range of issues. So I'm going to be posting the links to that page regarding that and give you all the updates there. And I know I've been putting off announcing the winner of the contest from the fundraiser for the album release last month. But lots of news regarding that release is going to be coming up soon. It's been kind of slow. Again, you know, COVID-19's kind of thrown a wrench in all the gears in a manner of ways. But finally, some big moves are happening there, so stay tuned for some more news regarding that. Thank you, and follow the Rough Go page and the Rough Go channel on YouTube. Give us a follow, subscribe. I'm going to be posting links to the Patreon as well. Become a regular Patreon donor and receive all sorts of benefits that I'm going to be posting about. And let's try and build something cool here. Thank you so much for watching The Rough Report and paying attention.